Hey everyone, welcome back to White Sparrow Living, Luke 12:6. I'm Wendy and I'm so happy you're here. If this is your first time joining our little crafting family, welcome, and I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button down below as well as the little bell right next to it so that you can be notified every time I upload a brand new video. Today we're starting Christmas and I'm so excited to be doing a collab with my friends, the Crafting Cousins. So once you're done here, head on over to their channel and I'll have that video linked in the description box below. If you like these projects, don't forget to give them a thumbs up, comment, let me know what you think. And now, without further ado, let's get started. Our first project, we're going to be using a microfiber duster mop pad, some Christmas ribbon, a chalkboard tag, a red oven mitt, and a Christmas pick. And so the first thing I did was took my mop pad, or microfiber duster mop pad, and I'm going to attach that to the top part of my oven mitt. I really should have left the little hook, the plastic hook that comes on the oven mitt on there, because it was in the perfect place to use as a hanging mechanism if you want to attach this to the wall. But I didn't think of it till afterwards, so I'm going to be just propping it up anyway, but you could do whichever way you want, or you could even add another hanger after it's done. So I'm just going to take my hot glue and attach it on the back, and then I'm going to take my Christmas stem and cut off each of those individual pieces of greenery, the pine cones, berries, and the little cotton boll, and then I'm going to attach those to the top left corner of the mitten. And I want them to kind of hang off of the side so that it gives it some more cuteness. And I'll just put a whole bunch of hot glue down and then use my makeup spatula to push that into the glue so that it stays nice and secure. So now I'm going to make a sweet little bow, and I'm using the twisting method, and this is a little tricky just because it's a thinner material that this ribbon's made out of, and because it's so narrow, it's kind of hard to keep a grip on it between your finger and your thumb. But I just did 4 loops on each side, and then I cut it off at the beginning of the word so that believe was a full word and not cut off. And then I'm going to take that very top center loop and I'm going to twist it back around underneath itself and then use a chenille stem to keep that all together. And then I'll foof out my little loops and I'll set that aside so I can make my sign. So a lot of you may already be familiar with the story of Saint Nicholas, and he was a Catholic bishop back in the 4th century, and he was known for giving gifts to the needy and the poor, but he had to do it secretly, otherwise it would get confiscated or they'd be taxed or whatever the case may be. So for this little sign, I'm using a chalkboard tag, and I'm going to take my white chalk bistro pen that I get from Walmart, and in order to activate this you have to shake it and then push it down a couple times so it gets nice and juicy. But I'm going to be putting shh on here so that it's like a secret. Shh, don't tell anybody you got a perky prize. So I just thought that was cute, and I'm just going to write it out, and then I'll attach that to the bottom part of my little greenery sprig, and then I'm going to put my believe bow on top of that. So I just use my cursive writing, and then I'm going to do the downstroke method where you make the strokes that go downward a little bit thicker than the others. And then I'll just take the jute twine that comes with those tags and double it over and feed it through the hole, and then feed the 2 open ends back into it just to give it a little cuteness. And then I'll add a little bit more greenery and some berries just in the areas where I think it needs it. And here it is, all finished, and this was so quick and easy, and we had no painting or anything, and yet I think it turned out just so adorable and sweet. And this would be really cute if you didn't want to hang it on the wall. You could put it on a pillow or just leaned up against the wall. I don't know, you could do anything with this, but it's so stinking cute. I love it, and I hope you guys like it too. For our next Dollar Tree DIY, I'm going to be using a Christmas stem, some wired garland ties, 3 plastic snow globes, 2 long box signs, some 5/8 inch ribbon, and some gold vase filler. So the first thing I'm going to do is work on my base, and I'm using 2 of these 'Tis the Season signs, and these kind of line up differently, so you want to play around with it to get the best alignment and so that it's very smooth on the edges, or as smooth as you can get it. And then I'm going to take my E6000 and some hot glue and stick these together and just make sure that they're nice and tight. And then I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint in white, and I'm going to give this 2 coats. And sometimes I say 2.5 or 1.5 coats, and somebody had asked me about that. And that just means that after 2 full coats or 1 full coat, I'll go back, and the half a coat means that I'm doing some touch-ups where it may have not shown when it was wet. So hopefully that makes sense. So now I'm going to take my snow globes, and they have this seal at the bottom because these are meant to have water inside of them. So they're super, super tight, and you kind of have to fight with it to get those out of there. But I'm going to take those apart, and then out of my garland stems, I'm going to form the letters J-O-Y to spell joy. And I'm just going to measure to see how big I need those to be so that they stand up straight inside of my snow globe. So while I'm making my letters, I wanted to take a moment to remind you to check out the Crafting Cousins channel and subscribe if you're not already. They are just 2 of the sweetest girls you will ever meet. It's Kay and Trish, and I'm just so excited to be doing this with them. I really want to help support their channel because they just are the sweetest souls. They have all kinds of different home decor and fun crafting that they do, and their little accents are so stinking cutie patootie. Anyway, so don't forget to check out their video, and I'll have that linked in the description box below. So then once I get my letters ready, I'm going to take my little poker from Dollar Tree and just poke a hole into my base, and then I'm going to take a little bit of paddle wire and attach that to the bottom of each of my letters. And then I'm going to feed both ends of that into that base, and then I'll twist it at the bottom, and then I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue to make sure that they stand up perfectly straight. So now to embellish my letters, I'm going to take a little bit of baker's twine, and Dollar Tree has this. This is just the kind from Hobby Lobby. And so I'm going to take a little bit of the berries off of one of the stems from Dollar Tree and attach that and tie a sweet little bow and then cut off the ends. So now I'm going to take my rub-on letters and I'm going to cut out the words "to the world." So each globe will say one of those words. And I am just now getting the hang of these rub-on letters. You have to be kind of gentle with your rubbing when you put it onto your surface. So I've found that the less you rub, the better, and it'll stay better. And the more you rub, it will kind of pull itself off. So I just take off the backing of these stickers and I cut out each of the individual letters, and then once I place it on my surface, I just kind of give it a little rub with my fingernail and then pull it off gently, and it will stay in place and look perfect. So now I'm going to take a pencil and write on the front part of my base, I'm going to write "The Lord has come." And so I want to make sure that the spacing's right, so I'm doing it in pencil first, and then I'm going to go back in with my black paint pen and fill those words in. And again, I'll just do the downstroke method to get it looking a little more fancy. So the way this is going to read is you'll have the joy, J-O-Y, inside each of the snow globes, and then on the outside of each of the snow globes, it will say "To the world," and then at the base, it'll say "The Lord has come." So it's "Joy to the world, the Lord has come." Cute, huh? So now I'm going to take some more of that baker's twine and I'm going to wrap it around the left side 3 times and then tie a sweet little bow up in the corner so that it's kind of hanging off of our base. So now comes the fun part. We're going to take that glitter filler and put some into our snow globe, and then carefully we're going to kind of slide it down to the side at the same time that we're putting in our letter so that it doesn't get all into the little branches of our garland stem. And so I'm going to do that on all 3, and then I'll screw on the plastic lid that goes over all of that. So now to cover up that plastic, I'm going to take some Dollar Tree 5/8 inch ribbon and just take some hot glue, and in the back I'm going to give it a little dot and then wrap it around and glue it again and cut it off just so that it doesn't look real plasticky. And then I'm going to take all 3 of those, and using my hot glue and E6000, I'm going to put those onto the base, and I'm going to start with the middle globe and then do the 2 sides so that I have them perfectly centered. And here it is all finished, and I think this turned out so cutie patootie, and I love that it's celebrating the meaning of Christmas. I have it staged in front of my open Bible that has the story of the birth of Jesus from Matthew, and so we can read this on Christmas Eve or anytime and just maybe teach the grandkids all about the story of Christ and the reason for the season. But I love how this turned out, and I hope you guys like it too. For our next Dollar Tree DIY, we're going to be using a Christmas tree, a Christmas stem, an oval Thanksgiving platter, some baker's twine, some puffy dot stickers in red, and a buffalo check drying mat. And then I'm also going to be using one of these star ornaments. And so the first thing I did was took my Waverly chalk paint in white, and I'm just going to paint my platter up. And so I'm going to give this 2.5 coats, and I want to make this really textured so that it gives it a little bit more interest, but I'm not going to do any distressing with the paint because I also want it to be stark white. So in this collaboration with the Crafting Cousins, we wanted to try to use these Christmas trees in different ways and in a variety of ways so that we could give you some ideas of what you can do that may be a little different than just using it as kind of a Charlie Brown Christmas tree. So I'm going to just be opening this up, and I want it to be flat on the back, and then I'm going to kind of puff out my branches, and then I'm going to take my chalk paint and then give those a little snowy look on those. And then I'm going back in for my second coat, and while it's still a little bit wet, I'm going to take my brush, and it's kind of a chippy brush, so it's not real smooth, and I'm going to make some lines so that you can kind of see the bumpity bumps of my paint, and it'll kind of resemble a wood grain. So now I'm going to take those little half pearls or puffy dots or whatever they're called, and I'm going to stick those all the way around my tray on the very edge of the rim. I was going to use some hot glue or some Gorilla Glue to give some added stickiness, but they're so sticky it actually worked better when I didn't put anything under them. So now to cover up the trunk of my tree, I'm going to be using this dish drying mat, and so I'm going to make a square and kind of fold it over to make it into a little bag. And so I'm just going to cut a strip across, and then I'm going to fold it diagonally so I can get a perfect square. And then I'm just going to tuck my stem in there and then fold it back and then hot glue it so that it stays in place. And then I'm going to take some baker's twine and wrap that around under the little flap that I'm going to pull down. And that shows the black, and I thought that was really cute. But then since the twine is underneath that little flap, I'm going to go back and make a sweet little bow for that afterwards. So now I'm going to attach my tree to the side of my platter, and I want it to kind of overhang, and so I'm going to see where I want it to be, and then I'm going to take a pencil and make 2 dots on either side of the big part of the stem in the middle, and then I'm going to take my poker again and push in 2 holes that I can then feed some paddle wire into. But I'm not going to twist it yet. I need it to still have some give so that I can get my hot glue gun underneath that stem and give it some additional support by gluing it down. So now I'm going to take my wire cutters and cut off all of the Christmassy goodness from my Christmas stem, and I'm going to tuck those into my little bag at the base of my Christmas tree. And then I'll hot glue some things down just so that everything's nice and secure, but for the most part it just kind of tucks in there nicely and shouldn't come out, but I just want to make sure that when I store it away it doesn't come apart. So now for the star, I knew I wanted to use this, but it wasn't quite bright enough for the color that we have with the beads, and I really wanted that red to be bright and happy. So I just pulled up the metal part of the star, and then I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint in crimson and give that a couple of coats just to make sure that it matches with everything else, the baker's twine and my little half beads. So since I already have my Christmas tree attached, I was able to measure to see how long I could make my words to go on the the right hand side of my sign. So using my Silhouette Cameo 3, I just cut out some words that have to do with Christmas, and I did them in different fonts just to give it a little more interest and some cutie patootiness. And then I'm using my FRISCO Craft adhesive vinyl in black matte, as well as my transfer tape, which is also from FRISCO Craft. And I will have a coupon code in the description box below, so if you order this, you can get 5% off of your order. And I love this vinyl and transfer tape, and you can still use the Dollar Tree transfer tape, the contact paper that you can use as transfer tape. It's actually shelf liner, but it's only $1. And the only reason I moved over to the FRISCO Craft is because my Dollar Trees had kind of been out of the transfer tape, and for my Etsy shop I can't have that. So FRISCO Craft was nice enough to send me a bunch of rolls of that transfer tape, and it actually works better than the Dollar Tree brand because it's a little stiffer, so it's easier to work with. So anyway, after I cut my letters out, I'm going to pull off the top part of my adhesive vinyl, leaving just the letters there, and then I'm going to go in with my pen and weed out the insides of those letters. And then I'll cut those apart and then put my transfer tape on top and then apply that to my platter. I'll have these available in my Etsy shop if you don't have a cutter, but this would be a perfect opportunity to use that transfer method where you take a pencil and rub it on the back of words that you've printed off of your computer in different fonts, and then you put it on top of the tray, and then you'll go over the letters with a pen, and then that lead will transfer to the surface, and then you go back in with either a Sharpie or a paint pen. And that's a great alternative to having a cutter or buying the decal. I know a lot of my viewers tell me that they have a hard time finding the description box down below, so I'm going to list the fonts here because there's 5 of them, and then you can just push pause and write them down if you can't find the description box. So now that my star is completely dry, I'm going to add some more greenery and berries to the top, and then I'm going to hot glue that to the top of my tree. And now I'm going to make my sweet little bow for the top of my bag, and I just rolled it over about 4 times, and then I'm going to take another piece and wrap it around the middle and then tie it in a knot, and then I will let those little stringies hang, and then I tied knots at the bottoms of those little hangies and then cut them off to different sizes. So So now to make the hanger, I'm going to take a chenille stem and just fold it in half and twist it and then glue that onto the back like I always do. But this time we have to do it over towards the right because the platter's going to be side heavy and it will be crooked if you hang it from the middle. So I just pushed it over. I held it up to see where that weight needed to be in order for it to hang straight. And here it is all done, and I love this so much. I love the red and white together, and then with the buffalo check, it's just so sweet and precious. I love this, and I hope you guys like it too. For our final DIY project, I'm going to be using 3 of the green Christmas trees, 3 of the long bamboo skewers, a plastic basket, 2 pieces of styrofoam, 3 mini toy cones, and instead of the craft paper, I ended up using masking tape. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure where my cones are going to go on the bottom of my basket because I want these to be legs. So I'm going to take a utility knife and cut a line across where I need that to go away so that it won't overhang, but I'll still have enough of the flat part to attach that to the bottom of my basket and it'll stay secure. So I found that the easiest way to do it is to just score it and then using some pliers, have the line right against the edge and then just snap it off. So now I'm going to paint my basket using my Krylon flat white spray paint, and Sweet Michael J surprised me with this painting station made out of plywood and some hinges, and I was so excited, and he said the only bummer is you can't get the backside of your items. And so I was thinking, well, that's okay, I'll just wait for it to dry and then I'll turn it around. And he said, or you could use the Lazy Susan that I ordered for you that should be here tomorrow. So he's so smart and so sweet. So this makes this job so much easier, and thank you, Michael J. So now I'm going to take my legs, and the reason I didn't spray paint these is because I want to chalk paint them and make them look like wood. So I want that texture that you get when you use a rough brush. So I first sanded them down so that the paint would adhere to that plastic a little bit better. And then I'm just going to paint the entire cone. And then I'm going to go back in with some hazelnut and I'm going to add a little bit of my white water, my wastewater where I put my white brushes so that it gives it a little bit of the white and it dilutes it a little bit, and I can wipe it off after I paint it on. And it just makes it look so much like wood. It's just crazy. So then after it's pretty dry, I'm going to go back in with some more of my white paint and then just add some more lines and then just keep working with that. You don't want to get too much water on this because it'll just make that first layer kind of come up and you'll be able to see the underlying color of the cone. So I'm just going to make this all nice and wood looking, and I'm telling you guys, this is the easiest technique and it looks like wood. And you know I'm not a great painter. So now I'm going to prepare my Christmas trees, and I'm going to take off the base of the tree, and I don't need the stand. I'm going to get my masking tape ready, and all I'm going to do is take my bamboo skewer and stick it into the opening of the Christmas tree and feed it all the way through, and then I'll take my masking tape and start rolling it, and that'll attach it together, as well as making it larger so that I can make these resemble like redwood pine trees of some sort, so that they're more natural looking. And so after I get that all wrapped around and kind of bulked up, I'm going to take my hazelnut that I used before and just brush that on there, kind of blotchy like, and then I'm going to go back in with some ink chalk paint and add some water to that, and then just make little lines, and then I'll take my hazelnut brush again and then just kind of blend those in. And I just want these to look like a different kind of tree so that they're more natural looking, and they're going to go into my basket once we get them all done. So now I'm going to attach my legs by taking some E6000 and some hot glue, and I'm just going to put those evenly around a third of the way, and then I made sure that the two legs are showing for the front of the basket. So now I forgot to show you guys this placemat from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to cut off one of the rows, and I thought it looked like Christmas trees, but I thought it was also pretty boho looking too. So I thought this would be a really pretty way of getting those reds and whites together again to match the other things that we've made. And so I'm just going to take my hot glue and attach that right under the lip of my basket. So now I'm going to take my styrofoam and I'm going to cut one of them down because they won't both fit in there. So I'm going to place them with some hot glue at the bottom of my basket. And I forgot to make sure I went the wrong way, so it needs to be going horizontally because we want our handles to be on the side. So when we're looking at our tree, we're looking at the front of the basket. So I had to move those around. So now I'm going to take some of the Dollar Tree garland, and instead of using moss, which you could use moss, but I just wanted to get some more Christmas up in here, and so I just placed that inside and then covered up that styrofoam. So now I'm going to take my Christmas trees and cut off the dowels a little bit at a time because I didn't want to cut too much off and then have problems with it standing up, but I want these to be staggered. So the tallest one will be in the back, and then the middle-sized one will be on the left, and then the smaller one will be on the right. So it's just a mini orchard of cuteness. So now I'm going to take one of Dollar Tree's bell ornaments, and I'm going to add a sweet little bow to the top. So I just folded this white grosgrain ribbon over in thirds, and then took a white chenille stem and wrapped it around the middle, and then twisted it around, and then I placed it at the top of the bell and twisted it into place. And I'm just going to set this into the bottom of my planter. So now I'm going to take 3 of these cross ornaments, and I'm going to place these at the top of my happy little trees. And this was kind of an afterthought, but I wanted to get some more white in there, as well as anytime you can get more Jesus in there, that's even better. So then I'm going to take some of these LED lights and put some batteries in there and light my trees up. And here they are, all done and in their little boho basket. I think these turned out so super cute. It's a different twist on using these Dollar Tree trees and gives it a total boho vibe. But I think it's cute even in my farmhouse decor. And at night, it's so pretty. I love lights. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, comment, let me know what you think. Please consider hitting that subscribe button if you're not already. Don't forget to check out the Crafting Cousins, Kay and Trish. Let them know that I sent you. I hope everyone has a blessed day, and remember to always be the light. Bye!